Hello everyone. One of the main reasons we all migrate to the West, go to the US, UK, Europe or other countries is in search of opportunities. And opportunities translates to money. We are all economic migrants. And some of us economic migrants also become a part of the system. Invest in stocks, mutual funds, brokerage funds, and also maybe buy houses, also have retirement funds. One of the questions that comes up often in Return to India forums is how do you manage your investments after you move back to India? Can you do that? So let me share my experience with one example. Back to India after I had an OCI. I decided to keep my house there. Hired a rental agency that manages our property. So the property manager manages that. So that part is taken care. Stocks, bonds and mutual funds I kept in my stock account. And one example is worth highlighting. Back in 2012, 2013, there was a company called Blackberry. If you remember that, it was the smartphone before iPhones really revolutionized smartphones. And Blackberry was a pretty hot company. So between 2010 and 2012, I had started investing in Blackberry. And before I knew it, I had invested close to about $100,000 in that single stock. Because I was in love with the stock. Stock was high growth. It was growing steadily. But what happened is the Apple effect. The stock suddenly started crashing because Apple's fortunes really took off. Now what that meant is the 100,000 that I had invested had come down to 80,000, 70,000, $60,000, and my heart was sinking with it. But the company was fundamentally strong. And round about at that time, I had also decided to move back to India. I decided I'm not going to liquidate my stocks, kept that stock as it is, including investments in Blackberry. Moving back to India, time went by. I would continue to monitor my accounts every now and then, keep track of my funds. But Blackberry hadn't moved. And then came the pandemic. The year after the pandemic, I think it was 2021, what happened is there was a Wall Street bets movement on Reddit. A huge momentum from retail investors that got together, started looking at a few high growth stocks. And Blackberry became the focus of attention. And I was watching that very closely. The stocks that I had invested in had suddenly bounced back. The 100K had bounced back to about 120, 140, 150K in a matter of weeks. And while I was watching, it had gone up to 180K. I decided to pull the plug, push the button, and liquidated that entire portfolio of Blackberry stocks. So in effect, I had made about 17% year on year for the past 10 years after selling that stock. Great investment, just that it required a lot of patience, perseverance. And the reason I highlighted this story is I was able to manage that stock and my brokerage account remotely, sitting in India. You can do that too. The word of caution here is keep your accounts active. Make sure your nominees are updated in your accounts because life is unpredictable. Likewise, have basic security measures like two-factor authentication and authorization. And make sure you keep your account safe. If you take care of these basic precautions, you can certainly manage your portfolio remotely, even from India. Last but not the least, make sure you're aware of the tax implications. For example, for me, I'm a US person. So that Blackberry shares that I sold, I had the capital gains and I had to pay taxes on that capital gain during my annual tax filing that year to the US government. Of course, that's part of my global income. That includes income from India. So the income in India, I would file taxes here. And Indian government also wants you to file a statement of your assets and investments abroad. So make sure You are aware of the basic regulations, follow them. If not, hire a good CPA and keep track of your accounts.